specifically with the age population that's really good to capture if you're trying to staff your agency. So a lot of times we are working with populations ages 17 to 24. Some of just the criteria is we do oftentimes work with individuals who are out of school simply because we have the funding available for them, and we're just trying to assist those who are not currently in a career path, not going to college, have finished up high school. So a lot of times we're capturing those who are just graduating or just about to graduate, or maybe tried out college and it wasn't their thing, and they're trying to find their career path. And if they come in and show an interest in childcare, we kind of help out with usually like a paid internship.
Yeah, so the first step is having them fill out our application. With that, we have to find a barrier to employment on them to get them eligible for our funding. All of our funding comes from federal grants. They have certain specific requirements behind them. In our youth program, it's a little more loose, a little more flexible, so it's easier for us to get our clients in. We work with 17 to 24-year-olds. Some barriers to employment can include being homeless, age out of the foster care system, pregnant, or parenting. I guess not in this case, being an offender.
Depends on what they found.
That's true.
And there are a few other things too.
Low income.
Yeah, low income.
Which a lot of these kids need.
Yeah, if we can't find one of those, a bigger barrier, then we look at their income. If they're low income, receive food assistance, haven't held work before, we can usually get them eligible and enrolled. And so with that, we're kind of helping with a couple components of getting that CDA. If they want to go through the CDA cohorts that are offered by Mesa County, we really push that because it basically helps us save more money for them. There's a certain amount of funding we can spend on each client, and different clients have different needs. So the CDA cohort helps kind of free us up with some more funding to put towards other things, and that could be getting them more hours working in an actual facility. We help with other things like gas. If they don't have appropriate clothing, we help with clothing so they can go to work looking and feeling good, and other things. We run background checks. I know some of you guys need those thorough background checks. We do those. The CPR first aid for infants and children, we pay for that. So there's a lot of different components to childcare that we can look at. And so when they go through the cohort offered by the health department, we're able to help them out in other areas. If not, sometimes their schedule is a little bit tricky, or they have other barriers. There's the online courses that we offer too. Those work, and we pay for the course, we pay for the book. Once they're studied up and have their hours, we pay for the exam. So those are things that we can do, to help a client be, sufficient for you guys' needs.
So I think one of the biggest points that I wanted to make to you all is a lot of times what's really challenging trying to staff our agencies is we have a high turnover rate with this population. So in order to kind of equalize that out, we do have this paid internship opportunity available. And it is the benefit for the employer, but also for the client. So what it's gonna kind of look like is this individual comes to us and we see if they're eligible for funding. So essentially the first step, just to kind of walk that through to make it clear to you, clients usually fill out this customer summary form for our program. That's step number one. They're offered at the Workforce Center, but we've also absolutely even given them to employers to hand out to potential candidates.
You can pull it up online.
Mm-hmm. And it is available on the Mesa County website as well. But essentially, no matter the case, whether you have a candidate in mind that you want to see if they might be eligible, or if you'd rather have us kind of almost do like a client profiling system for you, regardless of the option, they fill out one of the customer summaries and they meet with one of us. And then at that point, we make sure they fit the criteria. Do you have any criminal offenses? What's that going to look like? Are we able to get to work? What's transportation looking like? Other barriers, what's going on in life that might pop up and create kind of a hard time for you to make it to work. And then at that point, once we've kind of jumped all through those hurdles and we're pretty secure with the fact that they are interested in childcare, they're interested in a possible career, and we've eliminated as many barriers as possible, or at least addressed them, that's where we start with either sending out our interns to potential employers to meet, or potentially if you sent them to us, we'll let you know when they're eligible. So there's two different ways. If you can essentially treat it as like almost a hiring process where you're putting out a job application and you meet with individuals and then you pull out a few that you're really interested in. And that would be a great time to say, hey, I want to see if you might be eligible for an internship. Go down to the Workforce Center and fill out a customer summary. And make sure that they understand that they're being sent down to see if they're qualified for an internship through your facility. Because that's the other kicker is sometimes we get a referral from an employer, but unfortunately it's just not specified. So we treat it almost as like we're starting out from scratch, and there can be a lot of confusion from the get-go. So you can go that route. You have your own hiring process. You select the few candidates. You send them our way. We see if they're eligible. We let you know. If they are eligible, at that point it's pretty dang easy. Once we get them through eligibility, yep, they're good on our side. We talk about a start date. That is one of the most important points, is that their start date cannot start before we have them enrolled and everything is in place. So we can have them interview with you, we can send them down, we can have them all ready to go, but we have to meet with the employer and the client to enroll them and to get our side of the paperwork completed with you guys. But from there, we talk about, about how many hours are you looking for an intern. We have a max cap of 29 hours a week. So that is as much as they can work on our internship program. Reason being is that our internship program actually covers workers' compensation, and we can't go over the 29 hours for that to be validated. So we talk to you. Do you want them for the full 29 hours? Do you only need them for 15 hours? And each case can be different. But then at that point, we have that discussion. How many hours per week and when are we wanting them to start? Once we have those two things in place, we usually set up an appointment with you, and then we usually set up an appointment with that individual. We enroll them, and then they're able to start working with you. And just like Jen was saying, if they start coming to work and some issues rise up, maybe they're showing up in unprofessional attire, not the attire that you'd be hoping they'd be showing up to. Maybe they're showing up to work late. Maybe they're having a lot of absences. The nice thing is you have the addition of us as a case manager behind them to provide that vocational counseling. And sometimes we can even provide that supportive service if it comes to, well, they're just not showing up appropriately dressed, or they've been complaining a lot that gas is too expensive, so it's hindering them from getting to work. We actually have funding available to actually help with clothing and gas. We just need to know about it before it becomes an issue. Biggest thing is that if there are, sometimes it's inevitable, we'll have some issues with our interns. We try and get in and work with you to alleviate those issues. So we're trying to counsel them, we're trying to let them learn. But just so you all are aware, if we continuously keep hitting a wall with that individual, we're by no means bound to keep that internship continuing on. If it's just not a good fit, that's how the dice rolls sometimes, and that's okay. We tried everything we could. So main points I guess I'm trying to get at is, big thing is we cannot start the intern until we have everything in place. That's my number one. Number two is don't let the age criteria hinder you too much. Like Kirk was saying, we have a couple of different programs. So we have the young adult program that we're on, where we specifically focus in on this out-of-school young adult population. However, we do have an adult population as well, and they're really there to capture a lot of the more adult population that have been working for a long time, maybe trying to switch careers. But if there's a really good employee and they're just not fitting into our program for some reason, and they are over the age of 18, we can see if they might qualify for the adult program. There are a little bit of constituents. So for example, you get to pick the wage that you would like the intern to be paid. You get to decide what's the appropriate wage if they're coming for you and they have their CDA versus someone who's just entering the healthcare system. I'm sure, or the childcare system, that's gonna look a little bit differently, and we're happy to match that, because the intention with this internship program is to not only allow this individual to develop and to make sure it's a good career fit, but it's also to make sure that they're meeting your expectations and getting the real life experience of, I'm an employee currently. And so you get to set the wage, but the hope is if it's a good fit, that hopefully usually internships last around, I'd say anywhere from 4 to 5 months typically. And that's if we have no other funding restrictions, meaning they haven't turned to us for certifications or a lot of supportive services, because it's all coming out of the same pot of money. So if we have the full amount of money to spend on them, it's around 45 months at that 29 hours a week. So, if you're working them 20 hours a week, that could even be longer. But the intention of letting you set the wage is because our hope is that you hire them on at the end. We would love to see our young adult population transition into permanent employment, and that's our main goal. So if we have a good fit and you're really liking them, that is our end intention. However, we like it to be clear, if they're cruising along and it's going really well, but you just don't have a spot to hire them on at the time, that sometimes happens, and that's okay. You still gave that individual a really nice opportunity, and at the end of the day, that's what we could ask for. That's all we could ask for. So that's really the internships in a whim. Does anybody have any questions right now that I haven't covered at all? None that you can think of? Pouring a lot of information out, so.
Oh, the questions are about to start flooding in.
It's like processing, soaking in. So I'm trying to think, I guess the only other difference I wanted to point out, so if you wanted to go the route of, hey, I wanna send down clients to see if they might be eligible, you are welcome to do so. Just be aware and advised that we do have to meet with them. They have to meet our eligibility criteria. So the turnaround process, we try and make it around a week's time. From the moment we get the customer summary to them working, we try and make it about a week's time, but we're also getting busier and busier as we're getting the spring months coming up. So that can extend out to maybe even 2 weeks, just so you're aware. Communication starts pretty dang quick between you and that case manager, so you'll be kind of updated as the process goes. But if you're screening them, biggest thing is send your candidates down, have them fill out the customer summary. We'll reach out to you and let you know if they're eligible. And if you'd like us to also screen for you, we're happy to do so. And we oftentimes will even do that. So what we do is we have a proposal, which we'll be handing out for you all to see. But the proposal is essentially the job description for the intern. And this is what we as case managers use when we're meeting clients, trying to understand, okay, you have an interest in this career field. I have an employer offering this position. Is this something you're interested in? So we have a full drive of employers with proposals filled out that we oftentimes, if a client comes in and fills out a customer summary without a certain direction, or maybe not sent down by an employer, that is okay. What we do is once they're eligible, we sit down and we go through this drive. Are you interested in healthcare? Are you interested in childcare? Are you interested in manufacturing? We start channeling those, and then we start looking at these proposals in the drive. And once we've selected a few proposals, oh, I'm really interested in this facility because I've heard a lot about ABC company and I'm really interested in working there. We actually will reach out to you. Hey, I have Amy Jones here and she's really interested in maybe being an intern for you. Attached is her resume. Would you mind reaching out to her and interviewing her to see if she might be a good fit? And it's your decision at that point, hey, I'm pretty full right now, or sure, I'll reach out to her. I would love to see if she might be a good fit. It's up to you to decide that. And it's up to you to let us know if you're getting, because we have quite a few case managers on the team. If you're getting too many of us saying, hey, I have someone who's really interested in this, because sometimes we do. We have certain jobs that clients are just drawn to. You can let us know, hey, we're pretty good right now. We'll reach out when we're looking for someone again, and that's okay. But just know, unless otherwise noted, we will put you in the shared drive, and that'll open that position up for all case managers. So meaning, if they get a cue, oh, I'm looking for childcare, we'll immediately drop your proposal and propose that to the employee or the potential employee. And then we let you make that decision. We'll send you the resume, you get to have that interview, and then you get to let us know whether or not you'd like to consider them as an intern. So I can actually hand this out. Along with this is Jennifer's card. My cards were slim pickings today, so I didn't even bring any. But reason why is I wanted to give you all the opportunity, if you're interested, to fill these out. If you have more than one position that you're looking for, that's okay. Meaning even if it's not directly in childcare, if it's like office assistant or anything that you can think of that you may need some help with, you can fill out more than one of these. But the main things is give us an idea of what responsibilities they'll be taking on in this role, and then additionally any qualifications that this individual is going to need, including what certifications do you ask for before they start is a big one. So if you're interested in them having CPR first aid as an intern, write it down and let us know, because that cues us to go ahead and take care of that as we're first starting out. I'm going to also give you Jen's card just because it has her email on it. So if you'd prefer to take this with you as opposed to filling it out today and turning it in, you can absolutely just email it to her and she'll then, we'll put it in the drive and start from there. So I'll start handing these out.
And so this is our internship or work experience program. We also have our on-the-job training program. Similar, it's where when you find somebody that you like, you've already interviewed them and you want to bring them on, you want to hire them on as your own to work more than those 29 hours potentially. You just let us know, I'm interested in that OJT program. With that, the employer hires them on versus we hire them on in an internship. An OJT, the employer hires them on. They can work however many hours, but we can reimburse back 40 hours a week, a certain portion of the wage. So for companies that have 50 people or fewer, we can reimburse up to 75% of that wage that you paid that employee back. If there's more than 50 employees in that company or business, we usually only do about 50% reimbursement back to the employer. We only cover 40 hours a week as well. So if the client, or if your employee is working more than 40, we'll still catch just that 40. But we still offer those support services. So any certifications they need, if they need gas, clothing, those are still offered. And really that's the only difference is versus us hiring them on, you do, and we do like for you to keep them on. We simply pay for maybe the 3 months of the training that they're gonna need. So, and that is a different form than this internship paperwork. So if you're interested in an OJT and on-the-job training for an employee, that they can't be your employee first though. That's the same thing. We have to get them set up before their first day of work with you. We have to get them good to go and enroll before their first day. But after that, we would meet with with our client, your employee, and the employer about once a month, and we collect timesheets or hours, check stubs sometimes. To show the hours worked. We need it broken down by the day. We record that. We have all parties sign. Just verifying that the hours are correct and that the employee is consistently learning and progressing and doing well in the program. We'd like to hear if things aren't going well too. That does give us a chance to bring them in, offer some career coaching, career counseling to see if there's anything we can do to help whatever is causing their issues. And so that's our OJT program. If you guys are interested in that, shoot me an email and I will email you back the forms for the OJT. But yeah, those are both options in our career development program.
Can you talk about the qualifications for the OJT? Is it the same qualifications
It
to
is.
get through the OJT that it is the
same
internship?
eligibility,
Okay.
Yes. Now, when it comes to eligibility, we ask for ID, social. They have to do our testing, and we do our work keys component. It's the ACTs, they're from ACTs, and it's to show us that this person, this client has the aptitude, the skills, the knowledge necessary to be successful on that job. We work with different employers, and they sometimes require different levels of knowledge and skill base before they can consider somebody. So if that's the case, then we share those test results just to make sure that they're going to be a good fit, and that it's not a waste of anyone's time, that they're going to fit in with the culture. Because we also have a career assessment to show which industries are, high interest and which skills they have that they're highest in, that they're good at. So it does help create basically a profile for this client for you to look at. Now this is required whether you already want to hire them or not. It's just our requirements. We need this. Some other things are going to be based on their eligibility. So if they're just low income, we ask for check stubs for the last 6 months to see if we can get them under our cap. If they have kids, we ask for a birth certificate. If they are in this or in the foster care system, we can usually pull that from Mesa County or some other agency, but we require those things to get them eligible. Once they have all of those things, we find them eligible, then we schedule a time for them to come in and complete enrollment. Enrollment's going to be necessary before anything before the first day, before their first hour of being on the job. And so,
Question, you mentioned CPR first aid. The state also requires us to do this orientation thing. A lot of that is on the computer classes. Is that something you guys can tap into and take care of for them, or?
we're still working with that because we used to have our clients volunteer and then do a lot of that online, the training, I don't know, the FEMA and just a lot of the different trainings that are required. Now we need to structure it a little better so that our clients can't just take however long they want. We would like for it to be in a structured learning environment so that we know they're not, messing off or watching TV or whatever while they're doing this. So that's something that we're getting together a little more because it's becoming required. We have had a lot of our clients start there on the job, and they basically maybe don't interact with the children too much, but they're there to watch. And then they have their time where they sit on a computer inside of the facility and do what they're supposed to be doing as far as the training. And then, but really job shadow. And so that lets us know that it is structured learning. And that is something that we ask for when you're signing the paperwork, that you provide a structured learning environment and provide the right supervision and direction so that these kids or adults know how to do the job the right way.
My understanding of that pre-service stuff is they can't be with the children until that's complete.
They can't be used in ratio. They
Yeah.
could observe, they could be a third, they could be an extra,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't, till that orientation is complete, we can't put them.
Right, but they could be in an office, they could be in an office at one of your computers at the center
Yeah.
doing that training, and then you have yourself or them to kind of go over there and help them, check on them, that kind of stuff, help them along for sure.
And what are some of these, of course my phone goes off right when I'm about to ask a question. So what are some of these preemptive requirements? I've been hearing a little bit about it, but I haven't heard.
FEMA's a big one.
FEMA?
Mandated reporter.
Abusive head trauma.
There's a list, and like in the,
Safe sleep if you're,
Okay.
if they're old enough to be in an infant toddler room,
So-
shaken baby syndrome.
Okay, so how do clients, how do new hires get access to this information? Does the employer
Right.
provide
through
like
the
a link?
Yeah.
PDIS system.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then
Typically,
they
I make
can
them
log
come
on.
in after the first day before they do anything, they have to sit there all day on the computer.
Okay, and then they log on, they complete all of these, and then they're able to then be counted as the ratio.
Yeah.
Okay, so as far as the internship goes, what I've heard, similar to what Kirk was saying, it sounds like similar to how you're kind of tackling it, is we could set that start date for the internship and just have that communication with them and that expectation up front. your first day, you need to complete this training. And if need be, we can, give an exception to the next couple of days, but if we're giving you a full, let's say like, I don't know, a couple of hours to complete this.
From scratch, it might take 8 hours
Okay.
for someone. Just kind of depends on their speed, or they may come with CPR cards.
Okay.
Because that,
Or to
Yeah.
Okay, so we can always make that a requirement for them. You have 4 hours for the first 2 days to complete this training, and it will be paid because technically it's
Yeah.
part of it. But that could be something, because I have heard that some individuals do drag their feet a little bit on it, or maybe just have a harder time completing it because they want to be with the kids, not so much on the computer. But we have plans that we set with them right from the get-go. So we can have that conversation with them. Hey, let's spend 4 hours Monday and 4 hours Tuesday, knock this out of the park, we'll pay you for it, and then you'll be able to be counted as.
yeah, and we set those expectations when we bring them on,
Yeah.
Usually we might go like 3 hours and then an hour with the kids.
Yeah.
3 hours the next day and break it up, or give them a break, half an hour break in the middle to go help with lunch or something like that, just to make it a little bit more interesting. But
Yeah.
again,
Yeah, that could be, that's good for us to know though, so that we can, let them know, beforehand, this is what you're gonna be expected to do. You have a problem with this, and just, clarify that in the beginning. I think that would help, just to have a better understanding.
IEPs too.
Yeah.
So I can get you guys that list of all the pre-service trainings.
I would appreciate
We
it.
also put that into our CBAs that we do here.
Oh, perfect.
So on Wednesdays is when we do them. So if you have some that like they've already done FEMA, they've already done this, but they need one, you can throw them into ours that we do every
Okay.
Wednesday with these school boards, so we can talk.
So is it something that they can complete on their own prior to even working? Oh, so, okay.
Yeah, they could, it's not really fair.
Yeah,
They could.
they could if they really want
They
some
really wanna work that
punishment.
Well, I think that,
The role.
I had a misunderstanding, because I have one of your clients right now. And, I had given the option of doing the classes at my center, doing them at their own pace, and I let this person know that, these have to be done before you come up with kids. But I didn't think about having them there as part of their time.
Yeah, yeah, that's understandable.
especially if they're not great at going
Keeping on
home
track,
and maybe
yeah.
and maybe they don't have access to internet, or they don't have access to a computer that works, or
And if that's the case, and maybe you don't have a computer accessible, or you don't have the time at the facility to let them access a computer, the Workforce Center does have a computer lab. However, it would be kind of challenging to monitor that, because it is separate from where we are at. But if you're kind of in that situation where you go, the client doesn't have any way to get to a computer and ours is down or inaccessible at the time, we're happy to work with you to see what we can do to help out with that, because we have plenty of computers in there, so.
Well, they can jump in, because that's where we are. with
That's
those
true.
two on
The
those
Wednesdays.
We're in there.
That's a really good point, yeah. I'm trying to think, I think we covered everything. Has there been any questions?
I've got a couple for you.
Okay.
So let's say that, so we could bring on a intern for a teacher's aide position. We could bring on someone for a lead teacher position. We could bring on someone for a director's position. We could bring on a cook. If you're looking you need a cook, and why not advertise for it? See if they get qualified. If you need them 40 hours a week and they qualify, have them apply and do the OJT. If you don't need them 40 hours a week, do the paid internship. Again, it's 4 to 5 month long interview process, right? I guess that wasn't a question. I do have one though.
But it was good
What
clarification.
what if we have a need right now, but do not feel like in 4 to 5 months we would be capable of hiring someone full time? So let's use like an administrative assistant. Let's say someone's going through Colorado Shine's rating and they're like, oh my gosh, I need help. Or they're starting up and they go, I need help. But I feel like this help is probably going to run out. Yeah. You want to say that, Daryl? What was that comment?
Yeah, it's too late now.
Oh, I thought you were saying I need help and I want it now, right? So would it be fair for them to try to have someone that's qualified to help them through this 3 or 4 month period, at least believing that they wouldn't have a position at the end?
As long as we have that conversation from the get-go and let the intern know that. We have so many interns just looking to get something recent on their resume. You know, permanent hire is the best possible outcome, but a lot of opportunities just to get them some work experience so they can show the next upcoming employer, I've had recent work experience in this field. That's second best.
Yeah.
So as long as you let one of the case managers know this position unfortunately will just not lead to permanent employment, it's more or less more of an experience or resume builder, that's okay. We just have that conversation with that potential intern, and if they're like perfect, and I mean a bunch of young adults who knows what they're doing in 5 months anyway, so sometimes it's even for the better if that's a possibility. So we're happy to take both opportunities.
We like to know beforehand so that we
Yeah.
can, maybe a month before that internship position is up, we can get with them, meet with them, make sure that resume is updated and looks good, and start sending it out, because sometimes they can't afford to have gaps in employment. They're depending on that check to pay their bills. So knowing in advance that it's not gonna lead to permanent employment, it gives them a good solid month and a half, 2 months to start seeking employment elsewhere, to, interviewing and doing the application. Sometimes it takes longer to get hired on. So we like to know beforehand so we can, help them before it's too late.
The first internship I did was landscape maintenance. And when I heard I could do something besides preschool, I'm like, really? I felt like I was stealing from my county, but we pay plenty of county taxes. And so I took it on more as a mentorship after about a month, and after orientation, and about halfway through, I would require him, I'd say, okay, we'd sit down for a half an hour and we'd make some phone calls and we'd call the golf course. And I said, okay, tomorrow I want to see you at 9:30 instead of 9, and we're going to book you an interview at the golf course. He went up to Redlands Mesa Golf Course and he got it. We locked in the interview, and
Yeah.
I think I made him knock the door one time because he wouldn't answer the phone, and he ended up, so that internship ended and he moved on. Well, he went directly over to Denver, worked for the Denver Aquarium for a year, full-time as a maintenance guy.
Yeah.
Came back to Junction. He's been full-time my maintenance guy now for 2 years. You just don't know where these things are going to lead.
And that was so beneficial. If you have the time, obviously you're already being a mentor to these interns. They need some guidance. They're young. They're trying to figure it out. But additionally, if you know you're not going to hire them on, and you have some hints and tips and tricks, hey, I heard this employer is hiring, and maybe it's something even outside of our knowledge, to share that with them, just as you did, and encourage them, I think that gives them that much more confidence to pursue those avenues. And we see a lot of good things turn out when we just give them a little, you got this.
So we coach them going into, that their skills, the way they work, what they show their employer is what that employer is going to, tell other people. That's the most that, the least that we like for them to leave with is a good reference and that experience on their resume. But that can get them the next job, so much easier. And so we tell them, build relationships with the people there. Get references. Let them know, hey, I would like for you to be my reference. So we coach our clients on this if they don't already know, and let them know, even if it's not going to lead to employment, do this, and you are almost guaranteed a job. Right after that. Business. This is a small city. Businesses know each other. Employers know each other. Owners know each other, and you might know someone who has that need and where you no longer do. And so just that word of mouth has gotten a lot of our clients jobs, and that mentorship to be able to, hand them off to somebody else and, hey, I can vouch, he's here on time, she does this, she's excellent in this, and be able to help them secure employment, a full-time permanent employment position. So, that end result is the most that we can ask for.
What about a 3-hour afternoon closing janitorial internship? There are some people that are great working with kids, or they don't like this or that, but if they have a task of 15 things they need to do in 3 hours,
That's
who would
huge.
turn down extra hand?
Oh, really?
And who knows, they might end up rolling into an aide position with you, but could you handle that for?
Yeah, I mean, I immediately go to, we work sometimes with individuals with disabilities, so maybe childcare isn't the best fit for them, but a lot of individuals with disabilities do look for more task-oriented internship roles. So something like when you give them a task list of cleaning or responsibilities, that's the best thing that they could be asking for. And it gives them the opportunity, again, to start really getting into that work experience field and really trying out, because we get a lot of kids that sometimes haven't even held a position before because they just haven't had anybody willing to give them the opportunity. So even just to give them an opportunity like that is huge. So
And correct me if I'm wrong, but we had an art intern, and she came in and she completely transformed like the inside of our center and painted the most beautiful things that'll be there, you know, for so many years to come. And so, like he said, there's an intern for literally anything you can think of.
Where does the money come from?
Merle, here,
So our funding is federal funding. So our program is the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, if you really want to get down into the fun of it. So it is coming from federal, it's a federal funding pool that we get. USDOL, I think is the acronym. But essentially, each state gets a certain pool of money for the WIOA program to help the communities either underemployed, unemployed, or employed but not meeting their true potential population, to help them into paid trainings, paid internships, on-the-job training programs. So there's a WIOA program essentially everywhere and in every county. And the federal funding is just going to be dependent on those populations within the counties. But each year we have to apply for it, we receive the funding. Each year our funding per capita for each client changes. So, you know, my time frame for you, the 4 to 5 months for an internship, is typically what we've been seeing over the past couple of years. But if suddenly we get a sudden boom of funding or restriction in funding, that can ultimately change that trajectory. But ultimately it's pretty much the same, give or take. So that's the funding question. Anything else that you can think of right now? Okay, well, I'm going to offer Jennifer's email, and I will be in support too. She could just forward it to me. I didn't bring my cards. Otherwise, if you guys are interested, I'll be sticking around a little bit to possibly pick any of these up if you'd like to hand them off now or have additional conversations. The other thing you can do is email them, or you can even run over to the Workforce Center, drop it off at the front desk, and it'll go to one of us and we can then put it in the system as well. However is best for you.
Yeah, we like when you fill in the description, but if you want to attach a job description of your own that gives us a little more insight into what they're going to be doing and learning, that's fine too.
Yeah.
When you're signing these documents, you're basically signing that you're going to follow the federal labor laws. You're not going to lay off anyone, take advantage of our program. It's going to be things like that. We have a waiver of liability as well that we would need to be signed, and that states that although we do cover the workers' comp and provide support services for our clients, if anything breaks, if they break like your TV or something in your facility, we're not held liable for that. And so that's another thing that we ask for. Besides that, for an internship, we ask for you to sign what we call a worksite guide, and it's pretty basic. It states that you're promising that you're going to provide them the right supervision and direction. You're not going to discriminate against them. You're not going to subcontract them out to a third party. You're going to ensure that the workplace is drug-free and free of safety hazards, and basically provide them documentation to show your expectations of them when they're in your workplace. And so that's kind of what you're promising in that you're signing to that. And that's really all that we ask for.
if we interview someone and we're like, hey, we want them to see if they get qualified, what should we tell them? Go down to the workforce center and
Fill out a customer summary.
Yeah, ask for the career development program.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that'll be the easiest way. And if they could specify on the application that you sent them down. So just a simple, they'll fill it out and usually they'll jot it on the very top corner, sent by ABC company. And that kind of cues us, oh, I'll reach out to the employer and let them know, I've met with this individual, we're working currently through the eligibility.
Is there a list of eligibility requirements necessarily, or it's just so broad and pliable?
Depends on the individual.
Okay.
So it really is
Yeah.
just, we try and get most
We
all
try to get our
individuals.
kids in. We try to find any little loopholes. We try to get our clients in.
Yeah.
We try to spend this money. And, we try to help build this economy and help our employers and get these young adults or even older adults. We try to get them just stable. And that says a lot for our program. We're almost the best we're top in the state right now, even though we're a rural county. So we're doing better than most of the Front Range. We've got it down, you guys.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
We
It
try.
really is.
We try.
I had a gentleman one time in his 50s. He was previously in California doing Ford commercials and came in to do a marketing internship for me. And we were all clear on our expectations. He was basically waiting to land a great gig with a big company out here. And he was with me for about 3 weeks and knocked out some awesome material for me. We both learned a lot from each other, and he was able to lock his job in there, and off he went. So, that was a 3-week success, and we've had 3-week non-successes, which we can terminate at any time. I have plenty of come to Jesus meetings with interns, had one yesterday. And, but if they're doing work for you, they're saving you time. If they're doing that, you have time to mentor and invest back in them, or else something's just not.
Yeah, and on
Working.
maybe a more personal note outside of childcare, if you guys have, family members, kids who don't have their GEDs, those are things we offer. We offer all kinds of other types of employment certifications. We do really only push what's in demand right now, so healthcare, transportation, office, admin, technology, things like that. We can help people get into, most things. I started in this internship myself to get the job that I have right now. So it works. But we have a broad array, a whole bunch of different things, all of the maintenance positions. We have a lot going on, server, cook positions. So if there's anyone in your family that needs that extra help, or friends that you know, or anyone else, send them.
That's what I was gonna say, so you just send them down to the Career Development Center over there is that what you call it, or what?
It's the workforce
The-
center.
Well, yeah, and then ask for the,
Customer summary or career development application.
okay.
Either
Yeah,
one.
they can say the internship program. They'll know what they're talking
They'll know.
about.
This
Yeah.
is,
They'll know.
I'm like, I've got a
Pop it around so you guys
20-year-old
can
that
at
might,
least see it.
he's
But that's
working,
the
but
application.
he needs a career path.
Yeah, so
So-
and we pay for the CDL, $6,000. We throw them in that training, give them that CDL.
What is your age top again? 18 to what?
Oh, that's just in our youth program.
Oh.
And so we start at 17 years old,
And
we
just-
employ individuals all the way up to, I think there actually is a cap, unfortunately. It's like 80 something.
80 something. Retired anyway.
Say I'm too old.
That's hilarious.
So,
the only thing I can think of is if they don't qualify for our program, we're getting really technical right now. Typically, if they're starting out, it's the minimum wage mark. Adult program, so if we can't capture them in our program, and we're looking at maybe the adult program, the wage for the adult program has to be a minimum wage of $13 an hour for the internship program.
it's
For
just,
our
it's
program, it
federal
can be,
requirements.
yeah, for our program, it can be a minimum wage. So that's really technical. Just wanted to let you know, if you ever get an email stating this, and if it's gobbledygook, but eventually you get to the point and it says $13 an hour, that just means they didn't qualify for our program. We transferred them over to a different one to see if we could get them eligible that way.
And we're on the same program. It's just our age, it's our age and then different requirements. So we do 17 to 24 in our youth program, but our adults do 18 and up. So if we can't get somebody eligible in our youth program, we see if the adults can't with their requirements. And things are a little different. We have a lot more barriers that get them eligible, but sometimes they don't have those and they're above income. So we'll send them over to adult, and sometimes adult, they have a higher income cap so they can work with them. So we try to see what we can do to work them either way, but if they do qualify and are only eligible as an adult, that wage has to start at 13.
And if they're youth, it's best if they're out of school. We have the majority of our funding for out of school. In school gets crazy technical, and most of the time they're hard to capture. So that's the other thing, is that they've graduated either from high school and not currently attending college, or they can even graduate college and not currently attending anymore. All right, I think we covered everything. I think.
If you guys have any other questions, either call me, you might have to leave a voicemail, but shoot me an email and we can get back to you faster.
Cool.
Thank you for getting us your time.
Thank you, ladies.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.